Hi, this is Jeremy with Fundamental Tennis. Do you struggle using the Continental grip on your serve? When first trying this grip on the serve, it's often incredibly unnatural. It feels very awkward, and you will probably have very little success in just getting the ball in the service box. In this video, I'm going to show you several progressions to help make this grip very easy for you to have success in getting it in the service box and make it a quality serve. When you don't use a Continental grip, which by the way is the only acceptable grip that you can use for a serve, while many other strokes in tennis there is a range of acceptability. Using this grip will allow you to have the right technique, because if you don't use this grip, you are very likely to have the wrong technique and you won't be able to maximize power and control. So stick around to the end of the video as well, because I have a bonus tip for you. Again, I don't want you to struggle with this grip anymore, because it's not difficult to do if you have the proper instruction, and regardless of your level or age or experience, I'm sure that you will have success using these progressions, because every player that I've used them with had success the first time that they tried using the grip with these progressions that you will see. First, we want to make sure that you're using the correct grip. So if we have our racket like so, in which the frame is pointing straight up, you'll see that there's 8 sides to the grip, or 8 bevels. So this here is bevel 1. Again, make sure your frame is pointing straight up when you count here. Bevel 1, bevel 2, bevel 3, and then if you go all the way around, there's 8 sides. So you could think of it like north, this is east, south, and west. So you want your index finger knuckle, so right here, not this knuckle, but the one that's closest to the back of your hand. You want your index finger knuckle in line with bevel 2. That is the Continental grip. It's the exact same way you would hold a hammer. So again, bevel 2, how do you find that grip? Frame up, north, and if it's a compass, north is bevel 1, bevel 2 is northeast. That's where the knuckle goes on northeast, otherwise known as the second bevel. Also very important that you hold the grip at a diagonal across your palm. So what I mean by that is we don't want the grip to be like this. See how it's straight down my palm? We want it to be at a diagonal like so, as if you're holding an ice cream cone, because it's very important that you have about a finger width of space between your index finger and your middle finger. Again, second bevel, pretend you're holding a hammer, and now you have found your Continental grip. Last thing real quick before we get into the progressions, I think it's important to understand why this grip can be such a challenge, and that is because you will naturally hit the ball well to your left as a righty. Right now I'm on the ad side, I'm right-handed. Let's see where this ball goes if I don't rotate the joints in my hitting arm, which I will talk more about that in just a second. You will naturally hit the ball well to your left as a righty. If you're a lefty, it's going to go well to your right. So here are the progressions to help you figure out the natural way to use this grip step by step. In this first progression, I want you to choke up to the top of the grip, just under the throat of the racket, using your Continental grip. Now, you're going to start about 1 to 3 steps from the net. I'd like you to be on the ad side if you're a righty, do side as a lefty. Get in your normal serve stance. You're going to start at contact with your hitting arm extended. Now, what gets the strings to align to the target at contact? You need to rotate your forearm. This is pronation. You're not using the wrist. This is pronation, a rotation coming from the forearm. Also, there's internal rotation of the hitting shoulder. This is what gets the strings to point to the target at contact. So here we're going to again start at contact. I have the frame of the racket pointing to the eventual ball toss. From here, we toss the ball no higher than the top of the racket, make contact, and then finish the hitting arm's rotation by having the hitting side of the strings facing the right side fence as a righty. And notice how I held the finish. I check the finish, and I make sure that I maintain the Continental grip throughout the serve. Let's do another one. In my usual serve stance, I'm aiming for the correct service box. That'll give you feedback if you have properly done the technique with the Continental grip. Start at contact, frame is pointing to the eventual ball toss, strings to the target at contact, and then I finish with the hitting side of the strings to the right side fence. So do several repetitions of that. Do it until you can get several in a row in the service box. If your ball is going to the left of your target as a righty, that means that you are not rotating your hitting arm. Again, finish with the hitting side of the strings to the right side fence, or you could point the butt cap of the racket to the ceiling at the end. Make sure you hold the finish and check every finish. Second progression is very simple because you're doing the exact same thing as the first progression, except you're now holding it at the bottom of the grip like you normally would. We're still close to the net on the ad side as a righty. Start at contact. The frame is pointing to the eventual ball toss, and you're just going to gently touch the ball. Of course, you want the strings pointing to the target at contact, and then after contact, hitting side of the strings, finish to the right side fence. One more time. Start at contact. I'm just going contact to contact. I'm not doing a backswing. I'm not falling through. I'm not swinging fast. That's why you're close to the net. So that is progression 2, holding the bottom of the grip. Progression 3, we're now going to start with the racket down our back, and the tip of the racket is pointing down to the ground. We're still in the same position on the court, close to the net. On the ad side, you're going to toss the ball up gently just to your eventual contact point, and you're still going to finish with the hitting side of the strings pointing to the right side fence. Make sure you pay close attention to where the ball goes, because that'll give you feedback on if you're doing the technique correctly. Also, again, you need to check your grip. Make sure that you are keeping the Continental grip. Check it before every serve and hold every finish. One more time here. Start with the racket down the back. Toss the ball up gently and hold the finish. Notice how my hitting hand is finished well above my head. I'm not following through. This finish is to really isolate the rotation in the arm, and that's the key to pointing the strings to the target at contact, and that's the key to using the Continental grip. In this progression, we're now going to start in the trophy position, or I like to call it the throwing position. If you look at my hitting arm here, it looks like I'm about to throw a football. The racket is pointing somewhat to the ceiling, and there is some space between my head and my hand. I'm now at the depth of the service line on the ad side. I'm going to toss the ball up, bring the racket down my back, and then make contact with the strings to the target, and I'm still going to have the same finish with the hand high and the hitting side of the strings pointing to the right side fence. So watch here. I'll show you from a back view, trophy position. I'm going to toss the ball up, throw the racket at the ball, and then the same finish that we've been doing in the previous progressions. Throwing motion position, I'm behind the service line, toss the ball to the contact, make contact, and then the hitting side of the strings pointing to the right. Hold the finish, check the finish, make sure your grip is correct and that you maintain the correct grip throughout the whole swing. One more time. Throwing position with the racket arm. My arm is in an L shape. I toss the ball up, make contact, and I finish with a high hand, strings to the right. Quick review. First progression, we started close to the net. We choked up on the grip, and we started at contact, and we finished at contact. After that, we did the exact same thing, but holding at the bottom of the grip. Again, contact to contact. Last progression, we went back to the depth of the service line, and we started in our trophy position. Toss, throw the racket at the ball, and same follow through or lack thereof on the finish, finishing high with the hitting hand. And now in this fourth progression, we're still going to stay at the depth of the service line, but we're going to start in our serve ready position. So you're going to do the exact same serve that you've always done, except now you obviously have the correct grip and you know how to use that grip. At the end of the serve, however, you're going to do one last time of finishing high with the hitting side of the strings to the right, and the next progression will be the last progression, and we'll just simply add the full swing, the follow through. So, ready, position, toss the ball up, and then finish with the hitting side of the strings to the right. Let me give you another one. I missed that one in the net. So ready, position. And I'm watching where that ball goes because I want to have feedback on if I did it right, if I did the technique right, because the ball will go where you want it to go if you use those rotations in the hitting arm. Let's put it all together in this last progression. I'm going to have you finish your swing with a follow through. You're going to be at the depth of the service line one last time. You're going to do the same swing that you've been doing in all of the previous progressions, in that you would finish in this position, but you're going to pass through that position in a continuous motion until you get to the follow through. So it's going to look something like this. Okay, one more time. Full swing with a follow through. Now for the bonus tip. Really something that you want to avoid to make it much easier to have success using the Continental grip. And what you want to avoid is, at contact, when using the Continental grip, if your hips are parallel to the net when you hit the ball, look where the strings of your racket will naturally align. So they're going to point well to your left. The hitting side of the strings will point to your left if your hips are parallel to the net when you make contact. Now, without me rotating my arm, I'm simply going to turn my hips so that I'm facing more this way at about a 45-degree angle to the net. Watch what happens to the hitting side of the strings if I rotate my hips. Notice how they align to the target naturally because I didn't rotate my hips. I didn't over-rotate prior to contact. So when you make contact, again, you want your hips to be at about a 30 to 45 degree angle to the net. You need to avoid having your hips parallel to the net when you hit, because look where the strings point. You are not going to get that ball in. So your hips are a bit of a guide to help you aim to your target without having to really rotate your hitting arm too much. It's more natural to keep the hips more side on, or keep your hips sideways longer prior to contact and during contact. Now, a drill I like to use to help my players to not have their hips parallel to the net at contact and stay more side on at contact is, if you look at my back foot, which is my right foot, I'm going to keep the heel of my right foot on the ground throughout the swing, which makes it impossible for me to rotate my hips too much prior to the contact. So if I do a serve here, I keep my right heel on the ground throughout the swing, which will feel quite awkward, but it's going to help you to not over-rotate. So keep that back heel on the ground for a couple serves so you feel what it's like to stay sideways longer. And again, you don't want your hips parallel to the net when you hit the ball. If you watch closely here, you'll be able to see how at contact my hips are not parallel to the net. Now when I follow through, my hips do finish parallel to the net. Also notice in this next serve, the edge or frame of my racket is pointing to the ball as long as possible. This is important to have the correct technique and swing path. So no more struggling with the grip on your serve. You now have these progressions that I think will help you a lot. Please give them a try. I take great pride in doing these videos and giving you the best possible content and making everything easy for you to understand and to execute. So please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment, let me know how the progressions go. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm more than willing to help you out with your game. And again, I hope that you found great value in watching this video.